Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all some basic eyeshadow mistakes that I used to make when I first started using eyeshadows. And when I was not using eyeshadow correctly, this is how my eyeshadow was looking. So I'm going to share with you all those common mistakes and how I ended up fixing them so that your eyeshadow can come out looking like this every single time. So stay tuned. The first mistake I made was not knowing the eyeshadow terms. Now, I know a lot of you all are going to say that the eyeshadow terms are very self-explanatory as far as the labeling of the eye. But a lot of times if you are new to eyeshadow and you're just watching a YouTube video just right off the bat, like I did, a lot of times you don't know what those terms are and you have to understand them in order for you to know where the colors are supposed to be placed. So let's go ahead and go into, I'm just going to show you a close-up of my eye so I can go over those eyeshadow terms. The eye terms, when you hear them on YouTube channels, you will know what those terms mean. All right, so first is the brow bone. So of course, this is the area up underneath that's literally right underneath your brow. You have the crease area, which is where your eyelid creases, of course. Then you have your eyelid, which is the lid area. You have the inner corner of your eye. You have the outer corner of your eye. You have the upper lash line, and you have the lower lash line. And you also have a waterline. So those are the terms that you're going to hear all through YouTube videos when you are watching an eyeshadow tutorial. You're always going to hear these terms, and when you hear these terms as far as where to place that particular color, then you'll know where on the eye that color needs to go. So that was the first mistake that I found myself making, was not being familiar with the terms that was being used, so I would know where the eyeshadow was supposed to be placed. Once I learned the eyeshadow terms, the eye terms, then it made it easier for me to at least look at a look and kind of know this is where the colors go in order to create a particular look. The second mistake that I made was not understanding eyeshadow palettes, not really understanding the colors in eyeshadow palettes. Do I need an eyeshadow palette? How many do I need in an eyeshadow palette? I mean, the whole eyeshadow palette thing had my mind totally confused. So we're just going to go through and talk about eyeshadow palettes. Do you really need to spend your money on them, and so forth and so forth. All right, so you do have what's called single eyeshadows, which are of course eyeshadows that are just one color. You do have eyeshadow palettes that come in 2s and 3s. I don't have any 2s or 3 eyeshadow palettes, but I did put one on the screen so that you could see what that looks like. And most of the time you have 2 different colors. A lot of times it's a light and a dark color so that you can actually get a look from that eyeshadow palette. You have 4 what's called quads eyeshadow palette that has 4 different eyeshadow palettes. And a lot of times when you have a palette like that, you are going to again get a light color, you're going to get some dark colors, you might have a shimmery color in there, and then of course you start to gradually start to increase in the eyeshadow palettes, where you have maybe 6 eyeshadow palette, 6 in an eyeshadow palette. You might have 9 different colors, 16 different colors. I mean, the number increases depending on the company and just whatever kind of eyeshadow palettes that you want to purchase. So this particular eyeshadow palette is from Milani, and it has browns, it has an orange in there, it has some light colors in there, and this palette right here can give you a lot of different looks. So you have your dark colors, which we're going to talk about where you apply the dark colors for eyeshadow. You have your light colors in there, and you have a neutral color that is good for a transitional shade. We're going to talk about that later. So this particular eyeshadow palette is, even though it has a bunch of browns and neutrals in there, you are able to get a lot of looks. What's great about this particular eyeshadow palette though is that they have this orange in there, and this orange in there is just going to give you that pop of color if you want to give yourself something a little extra than just a neutral type of look. There are some eyeshadow palettes that do have on the back side of the actual product, on the actual container, different looks that you can try. So this particular one by Milani, this is one of my first eyeshadow palettes that I got. And the reason why I got it is because it has on the back side some different looks I can create with this eyeshadow palette. So I didn't really have to do too much. So if you're someone who is new to the whole eyeshadow game, or you're really trying to experiment with some different things, then you can look on the back of the eyeshadow palette to see if they give you some different looks. A lot of times they do, especially if it's an eyeshadow palette where you have some weird colors going on in there. They do give you some suggestions on how to mix and match those colors up to actually create a great eyeshadow look. So look for that if you are new and you don't really know how to create a look with those eyeshadow palettes. All right, the third mistake is not using a primer on my eyes. Now, primers are very important. Just like the primers are important for your face, they are also very important for your eyeshadows, because when you don't have a primer on your eyelid, it definitely does show in the eyeshadow look. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. All right, so I'm not going to put any type of a primer on my right eye, so I'm not going to put any primer on that one, but I am going to put primer on my left eye, so that you can see what happens when you don't add a primer to your eye. Now, when you are choosing a primer, and I have said this before on my videos, what makes a good eyeshadow primer is a primer that does not crease. If you are seeing the primer creasing, it's not a very good primer, which is the reason why I'm always talking about this one, because as soon as I place this on my eyelid, within seconds, it's already creasing. So that's how you can determine if it's a good eyeshadow primer or not. And you don't have to go and spend a whole lot of money on primer. There are a lot of great drugstore eye primers that are good, that you can use to prime your eyes. All right, so this one is primed. This one is not. So now I'm just going to go and I'm going to go into the Black Radiance, because that's just the one I picked up. And I'm just going to take a regular brush, and I'm going to just go into the red color. Oops, and it's going into blue when I don't want it to. So I'm going to go to the red color, and I'm going to place it on the eye that does not have any primer on there. All right, so I'm applying this just like I would if I was, of course I wouldn't put this on my eyelid like this if it was, if it was a regular look, okay? I'm just showing you all what I mean. I would never do it like this. All right, so that's without primer. So now I'm gonna do that same, put that same color on this eye that has primer on it. All right, so you probably can see, and I'm just gonna just apply this first before I start talking, and then hopefully you'll be able to see. All right, so and I'm just going to zoom in so that you can really see the differences, because there is a difference. The right colored eye looks a little muddy. It's not the true red. It looks a little burgundy red. But on the side that has that primer on it, the red is red. It's red like it's supposed to be. It doesn't look muddy. It's very pigmented. It is the true color. So when you don't have a primer on your eyes, particularly when you're using color, you're going to see a difference between using an eye primer versus not using one. So that is the importance of really using that primer. It's really going to make the colors pop, for one. For two, it is going to make the eyeshadow last a lot longer. And number three, it's going to also make sure that the eyeshadow is going on there smoothly. So there is a lot of benefits for wearing an eye primer. So if you don't do that, that is definitely a mistake, because your eyeshadow is not going to come out looking right. So the fourth mistake that I made was not using the right brushes. This is the crease brush that I'm going to be using, and I'm just going to go into this purple and I'm going to apply that all over my lid. So when you are not using the correct brushes, then your eyeshadow look is not going to come out the way you want to. Now this particular brush is a crease brush, which means it's supposed to be used to go into the crease area. It is not supposed to be used to be applying the eyeshadow all over the lid. All right, so now let me use the correct brush to apply this color all over my lid. So now I'm going in with the lid brush, which is what is supposed to be used for your lid. And I'm going in with that same color, and I'm applying the color to my lid. So when you're using the right brush, which is the lid brush, I'm able to put that color exactly where I want it to go, which is on my lid. It's not going up in the crease area. It's not going any area of my eye that I don't want it to go to. I'm able to also take this brush and I'm able to pack it, which means to keep adding layers of color so that it would darken. I was not able to do that with the crease brush, because the crease brush basically was blending that color away, where this particular brush is allowing me to pack on the eyeshadow to make it as dark as I want to make it. The fifth mistake that I made was putting color in the wrong place, not knowing where the colors are supposed to go. Now, of course, there are always an exception to whatever rule, but as far as eyeshadow basics, there are pretty much certain sections of your eye where certain colors are supposed to go, and there was a moment that I did not know where those colors were supposed to go, so I was just putting them anywhere. All right, so let's talk about that. So I'm just going to just randomly put colors onto my eyelid, and then I'm going to show you what I mean. So the first thing is putting a dark color onto your eyelid. Now, this is not where a color is supposed to go unless you're trying to create some type of a smoky eye or whatever, and even then it's still a technique that's supposed to go in order to do that, because right now I'm looking like a raccoon, and you definitely don't want to look like a raccoon unless you are trying to be a raccoon for Halloween, and I'm not trying to be a raccoon. So a dark color does not go on to your lid. All right, what goes on your lid is a light shade. The light shade is what goes on to your eyelid. So I'm just going to go with this particular like light shade there, and I'm going to apply that to my eyelid. Now this color is almost like a nude color, so it's really matching my skin tone just a little bit, but it does have a touch of color. And now if I wanted to add a color to my eyelid, then I again would take a light color, and I'm going to go with this glittery looking color here on the middle here, and I can apply that glitter color right on my eyelid. Again, it is a light color, so it will go fine on my eyelid, and it's not going to look out of place. But if I did that same thing over here and try to put that on there while I put that color in the wrong place, where you see what it's creating, an absolute mess. You're not able to see the glitter at all, and it's just looking a little silly. With an angled brush, I can go in with that same dark color that I did on this eye, and the dark color goes on the outer corner of the eye. And the reason why I use an angled brush, because it just makes it a little easier for me to actually get the dark color in the outer corner, because it's already angled. So all I have to do is just like really just pat it down and place it like right there on the outer corner of my eye. So the dark color goes in the outer corner. You can also place a dark color in your crease area, depending on what type of look you're going for. And now I'm going in with my blending brush, and I'm just going to pat that dark color in to kind of blend it together. Wipe my brush off. Now I really don't like this look per se, but I'm just kind of showing you all where the colors go for demonstration. So I'm just going to take the blending brush and I'm just going to blend the colors together. All right, so you need to make sure that you are placing the colors in the correct places. The lighter color always goes on your eyelid. The darker color goes on the outer corner of your eye. If you want to add what's called a highlight color, you want to highlight the inside of your eye, then you can go with a very light color like this, very light, and you can place that light color in the inner corner of your eye. You can also place that light color on your brow bone if you want to highlight the brow bone. You can go right up underneath there and give it a little color if you want to, and that, as you see, kind of accentuates that brow bone a bit. And then you can take a blending brush, you can kind of blend that in if you want to take away the harsh lines, so you're able to see that it does accentuate my brow bone a little bit. This is what happens when you're not putting the color in the right places. It looks raccoonish and it does not look good at all. So make sure that you're putting the colors in the right place so that your eyeshadow will come out looking perfect every single time. The last mistake that I made was not blending enough, making sure that the harsh lines were blended, because that too is going to mess up an eyeshadow look. So what I mean by that is, I'm just going to take this brown, for example. If I was trying to do a one eyeshadow look, and this is not very pigmented. It does give a little bit of color, but it doesn't give a lot. All right, so I'm just going to pack that on to my eyelid, and I'm just going to do this one without blending. I'm just going to pack. I'm not going to do anything else. All right, so if you just go out like that, it's very harsh. It's not very blended in. It just looks like I just plopped that color on. But if you are trying to do that same color, I'm going to pack it on again. Get on there as much as I can, and then I'm going to take my blending brush and I'm going to, in a circle of motion, I'm going to blend that out. And spread it to whatever areas I want to spread it to. If I want to take it further out, I can take that color outward if I wanted to with the blending brush. So when you're blending, a lot of times you can take a color out to really blend it outwards if you wanted to. All right, so the difference between blending and not blending, this is very harsh type of eyeshadow look that's going on, but when you blend it together, it makes your eyeshadow look very subtle, very blended in. It just gives you a great eyeshadow look when you have that great blending in the color in and really making it very subtle and very soft. I hope that you have learned something from this video. I shared with you all the mistakes that I made when I was trying to figure out how to create any type of eyeshadow look. I also shared with you all how to fix those mistakes, so hopefully you're able to fix them as well, so you're able to be a little bit more confident in being able to create any type of eyeshadow look that you want to create. I am Michelle Mazelleghh. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.